Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Live Your Best Marriage podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Whitney Shio.
And I'm the other host, Pesa Shio.
And we are so excited to have you guys listening to another episode of the podcast that is all about marriage. And we just love sharing stories and sharing tips with you guys. And if you want to connect with us more, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Whitney Shio.
And I'm at Pesa Shio.
Of course, you could like our Facebook page,
which is Facebook.com/Live Your Best Marriage.
And you can also subscribe to the blog if you want more tips and encouragement for your marriage,
which is liveyourbestmarriage.com.
Absolutely. Also, we've said this before, and we just want to say it again, that although we do believe that every single marriage out there has a chance, we are not necessarily saying that you need to stick with it even if you're being physically abused. If that is the case for you, please get help and get out of that situation. But otherwise, this definitely is a source of encouragement and inspiration for couples who cherish the history that they share together, and they also want a future together. So welcome, and we just hope that you find this information to be helpful.
Oh yes, because I always love to say that every couple has a chance, or every marriage has a chance to be awesome and to be fulfilling. And I got a few comments, and some of the comments was, what if you are being physically abused? Mm-hmm. And that's why we are putting that disclaimer that yes, right, we believe every marriage has a chance, but if tonight you are being physically abused, you should find a way to go to a safe place. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Get out and get help. Or we've also had people ask us, well, what about someone whose spouse is just constantly and repeatedly cheating on them? Same thing. Honestly, if that is the case, we just hope that you can find help, and if you need to, get out of that situation. We don't want anybody to suffer. We definitely do not encourage that.
Yes.
But again, there are couples who have overcome those unbelievable obstacles of cheating and physical abuse. I've heard those stories too. It's been done before. But again, we definitely want to be strong advocates for just getting help and staying safe.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever your situation is, we just want to be a source of encouragement for you.
Oh, yes.
And we always advocate doing what's right for your household. Whatever's the best fit for you guys, that's what we hope you're able to do.
That is so true.
So, and today this is definitely a communication episode.
Okay.
It's going to be a really, really helpful one, because we're going to talk about the interpretation side of the conversations that we have with our spouse. And pretty much what happens is when we're having a dialogue with someone, we always have a lens that we're viewing through, and whatever comes through that lens is how we interpret the words that they're saying to us. And so, just for example, you might have a coworker who is maybe they're just not very friendly to you.
Okay.
And if you pass them in the hallway and you say hi, and maybe they don't look up from their phone and say hi, your interpretation of that might be, well, obviously this person does not like me.
Oh, yeah.
They must not be a huge fan of mine. So the same thing happens in marriage. I mean, if your husband or your wife says something offensive or something that you take as offensive, you might even start thinking, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't really feel the love right now.
No.
So, and what we want to discuss today is, how do I know if I'm interpreting something the wrong way, or is my spouse like really, really just upset with me? How do I tell the difference between truly not being on the same page and just me assuming that things are not right. Or maybe I'm just taking things the wrong way. Maybe I'm just taking things too personally.
Okay.
I want to go over the difference between those two things.
So, one thing I've known the longer I live that is things are pretty much the way you look at them.
Right.
Somebody can look at something and they're like, oh my goodness, this is a total disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else can look at the same situation and
they can find purpose.
Yeah, they can find purpose.
Yeah.
And now, so we do the glass half full or the glass half empty.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you look, okay, you can say, okay, that's pretty much easy. Okay, glass half full, glass half empty. But some folks, they are not actually looking at it from the glass half full or half empty, whatever thing. It's literally that's how they see things.
Right.
Yeah. Like they can literally see that you are mad at them.
Yes. So that's what I really wanted to get into, because if Pesa says something to me, sometimes I might even take it as an attack against me when it's really not.
Oh, yeah.
And he has to remind me. In fact, just yesterday, he had to tell me, like, okay, seriously, that was nothing against you. I don't know why that bothers you. But I totally, like, just took it the wrong way, and when I really shouldn't have, honestly. Yeah. Like, I notice, like, sometimes I might get offended way too easily, but there's really no problem. Like, he doesn't have an issue with me at that time, in that particular situation. So if I'm exaggerating, if I'm like building a case basically out of nothing.
Yes.
I mean, that puts a lot of stress on the marriage, or it can. I mean, Pesa happens to be very patient with me. But if you have two people who are together who are not patient, not like, Pesa is always like very quick to be understanding. So I'm extremely fortunate for that. But I'm just like, okay, if he wasn't that way, we would be in trouble because yeah, sometimes I can literally just like start building a case like out of air.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There is no problem, but I am creating a problem. I take like 2 words that came from it, and I'm like, oh, no, wait. Okay. There's something.
And I don't know if it's because you are so creative. Like, you can actually see that it's happening.
Right.
Yeah, maybe it's because of you are just so creative. Because sometimes you make some connections which, I guess when you are telling me the connections,
right,
they make sense to you, but to me it's like, I think that is a little bit too far-fetched here.
I think like maybe I get a little too creative, but also it could be like if I'm feeling inadequate in a certain area, then I think I'm more likely to feel offended. So let's get right into this. Okay. How do you know if your spouse is truly upset with you, truly angry, and there's a huge problem? I would say that name calling during a discussion or an argument would be the number one clue that, okay, I am not just making this up. So if Pesa starts calling me names, then I would know for sure, okay, I am not exaggerating. There is a problem, obviously.
Yes.
And what I want to say about that, because the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because I was saying that if he tells me things and I'm making something out of nothing, the source of the problem is my interpretation.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, the way that I'm interpreting his words, that's where the problem is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But if you introduce name calling to the situation, then that is not necessarily that's not me.
Yeah.
That's the person calling the names.
Yes.
Because, again, when you hear insults, it actually says more about the person saying it.
Okay.
Than it does about you. So, I mean, honestly, and there are couples out there. I mean, we've had a lot of comments. We've had a lot of messages over the years. And some wives are like, okay, well, when he gets mad at me, he calls me the B word. And
okay.
And it makes the wife feel terrible because she actually feels like she's being the B word at that moment. But I want to make a statement and say that actually the person calling you that name is the problem. I mean, because it's the way they're viewing you. It is nothing. It has nothing to do with you, right? You can't just, honestly, like, you can't just label someone. You can't just decide, oh, you're this or you're that, and then you give them a label. No, your label does not define who they are. So I would say that name calling is like a bullying technique that is used sometimes in communication between, like, among couples, and it's more common than people like to admit. Yes, honestly, it does happen. So
if somebody's being name called, what should they do? Should they call them like the other person's?
Should they retaliate?
Should they retaliate? Should they keep quiet? What should they do?
Well, okay, the first step is just knowing that they cannot put a label on you. Okay. That's the biggest thing. That's going to help you out emotionally.
Okay.
Because honestly, I mean, we all know that feeling when someone calls you a name, like, you actually take it personally. Like, you feel it. You feel bad. And so I would say, like, the number one step, the first thing to do is just be aware that someone else does not define you.
And actually, to break it down for me, just for me, is to understand that just because, as you are saying, just because they have said that name, I should not take it personally. Yeah. And just know that, you know what, that's them talking, but that's not who I see myself as.
Right, because if that's how they're viewing you, that is their problem. Until you make it your problem. If you accept it, then you're also making it your problem.
But at that moment when the words are coming, out, should you just say, okay, I think that's them and that's not me? Or should you throw one, just one?
Throw one back? No, it's going to take patience. I mean, it's going to take a while just to get into the habit of remembering, like, okay, that is not who I am. He called me the B word, whatever. He called me a whatever, but that is not who I am.
Okay.
And I would suggest taking a time out from the conversation.
Just say, you know what, this is like...
Just, be like, you know what, we can talk later.
I'm done.
No, because saying I'm done, you're shutting them out. Now you're blocking.
So that's like what stonewalling?
Stonewalling, yeah. I mean, it's also not right to block what they're saying.
So you don't want to fight fire with fire?
No, in this case, no, definitely not.
So basically say, okay, we need to take a time out.
Yeah, you can actually just be upfront and say, okay, you can't put a label on me. Okay. I mean, honestly, if let's say Pesa leaves a towel on the bathroom floor. He never does that, but this is just I've heard this example being used before. So
what do I do?
You hang it up. You are just awesome. Let's say he leaves a towel on the bathroom floor and, leaves it there for a while, and I come and find it. And if I go in and start yelling at him and I tell him what a slob he is, first of all, he needs to just say, okay, hello, you cannot put that label on me. You cannot just decide that I'm a slob simply because I left a towel on the floor. I mean, honestly, and I know it might sound silly at first, But when you get into a really heated argument and it's like it's a touchier subject than a towel, believe me, you will not want to be stuck with that feeling of like feeling terrible. No. Because your spouse's opinion means so much to you. Yeah. And so that's what's so painful about it. But again, you still have the right to say, okay, no, that's not what I am, and we can talk later. We can talk about this later if you'd like. But
I'm done.
But no, I'm not done. But if you need like 15 minutes to cool down, we can come back and talk later. But nobody has to go through verbal abuse.
Nobody has to go through verbal abuse. And I read somewhere, maybe you can help me with this. They were saying that you can actually use some safe words. So if you say a word, it's a code word for like, okay, now it's time out time.
It's time to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever you can come up with a code word and just, if somebody says it, then, but I think honoring it is probably the harder thing to do.
I guess it's like training.
Yeah, it's going to be a habit. It's going to take time.
It's like potty training a dog. Like, just always take them out.
Right.
Until they learn that word means something, right?
Right. So, anyways. So that's the side of it where you are not misinterpreting things. Like, you are actually being verbally abused. Now, the other side of it is if your spouse is, making suggestions and telling you things and just, talking to you in a way that they really are trying to get things accomplished, but you, for some reason, just keep getting offended. You're just like, okay, oh my gosh, I really think he is out to get me, or I really think she just disapproves of me. And that
she has something against me, yeah.
Right. Like, you just feel like every comment they make, you're like, okay, seriously? Like, that just did not come out right. I don't think that was a nice thing for him to say. Or what does he really mean by that? Then I think in that case, maybe you could be interpreting things the wrong way. You could be like overreacting.
Yeah.
As long as
But how do you know?
Because we'll see the difference is, in most cases, I would say that if your spouse really does mean harm, then they would probably get into the name calling and just be more insulting.
Okay.
Like, I think that they would be more harsh.
But they wouldn't be doing it like on the DL.
But, no, I don't think so. So I think that's what would really make the difference, honestly. Like, the other day I made homemade fries. And Pesa asked me, he's like, how long did you bake these?
Yeah.
And, okay, that was the first thing I was like, so I kept quiet. And then he asked me another question. He's like, don't you like them well done? So from that point on, I was like, okay, he totally thinks my cooking is horrible and he did not enjoy his fries. I definitely overreacted. So I was like, okay, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with the food? And then again, he was patient with me. He was understanding, and he's like, okay, Whitney, seriously, you do not have to take every question as an attack against you.
Because it wasn't an attack.
Yeah. He's like, maybe the person that you got the recipe from has a different type of oven, and you used their recommended temperature, but it just wasn't a good fit for our oven.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, or maybe the cooking time just needed to be adjusted.
Yes.
Because ovens are different. And so then I was like, then I felt really stupid. I was like,
because it has nothing to do with you as a person.
But
because this whole thing was just about fries. So
the way I was interpreting that, I totally took it as he does not think I can make fries. So do you see how I was able to blow up this huge thing out of nothing?
I even had forgotten about that. Yes,
that was just a few nights ago. But the flip side of that is, I mean, if he really did mean harm, he would have used words that were way worse than that. I mean, he would have been like, he could have even thrown the fries in the trash if he thought they were that. You know, like if he was really trying to be mean.
And I was actually even eating them.
He ate them. He finished eating them. So, like, does that make sense? And I'm not saying... And just because someone does throw food in the trash, I'm not saying that they're against you. I mean, it is possible to screw up a dinner. I've done it before.
But it has nothing to do with you as a person.
I mean, I've made, like, the hardest thing for me to make is pumpkin muffins.
Okay.
And they always come out really mushy. And there was a time when I added way too much baking powder. And Pesa and the kids, like, practically... sprinted to the trash can to spit them out. But in that case, I mean, I didn't take it as they were being rude. I knew I really messed up those muffins. So you just kind of have to, it just depends. I mean, but really, the way you interpret things can really make a huge difference. In the way that you're able to connect with the person you married. So it's just being able to know the difference between like real hardcore verbal abuse or am I making a big deal?
Am I too sensitive?
Right. Am I just thinking that he's against me?
Yes.
So
now what if you're married to somebody who is a little bit sensitive and they just everything is like about them and they take everything so personally? What do you do? Because you've been married and that's an issue that you can deal with. What would you recommend?
Right. Okay, so when you say that they think everything is about them, that
like they take a lot of things personally. So we can be talking about the weather, but there's a way that can be brought to something about them, and or you can be talking about whatever, but there's a way that whole conversation...
you can ask that famous question before you're about to leave the house. Is that what you're wearing? And and that can be taken like way out of context. I know that. Well, first of all, I have to say my honest opinion is I do believe in being conscientious.
Okay.
I totally do, especially with the person you're married to. But pretty much with everybody, I like to be considerate because that's what I would want someone to do for me.
Yes.
So I think that, I mean, if it's like getting to the point where they're just, I don't know if they're self-absorbed. I don't know, because I've heard people make that accusation before. Like if someone thinks everyone is against them, then they think that everyone is thinking about them all the time.
Yeah.
And they're and I mean, but I would just say that first, I believe in being as considerate as you possibly can.
Oh yeah.
But I think reassurance is one of the best things you can do if you're married. Just constantly reassure your spouse. Like just remind them that they are number one in your life and that they are special. You do care about them. You do love them, and just and I think that with time, if you guys work on it, you could totally overcome that. I don't think that's a big problem at all. I mean,
now if somebody has been diagnosed with paranoia, like a clinical diagnosis of paranoia, so that is like another. You've taken it up a notch, and you might have to be like going to like the doctor or something. But for the rest, for the garden variety, like I freak out about everything my spouse says, just the regular stuff, you can be able to work through it.
Right. And so, I mean, like, definitely there have been times when, like I'll interpret something the wrong way, and it might just be, there might be a reason behind it. I might be just not really feeling the love. And I've even heard pastors say it's not love if it doesn't feel like love. So, I mean... Can
you say that again? It's not love if it doesn't feel like love.
It's not love if it doesn't feel like love. So if your spouse is they might not be yelling curse words at you, but they might still be inconsiderate and rude.
Yeah.
And so, and
like you don't feel that connection.
Yeah, like, and I've definitely had that issue. Like, I'll just feel like, okay, like maybe I don't feel loved at that moment. And reassurance is the best medicine for that, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think that just, and I mean, as a wife, I know I definitely need reassurance anyway. Even when I do feel like things are going well.
Do you think there's a difference between men and women when it comes to needing reassurance? Do you think women need it more, or men need it more, or it's just the same? It just depends on the person.
I've always heard that wives like reassurance more than the guys, because, like, especially when it comes to their appearance.
Okay.
And just things like that. Just they want to hear that they're beautiful. They want to hear all those things. And so I don't know. My guess would be that wives
need more.
Would want it more.
Okay.
But I think it could definitely work for anybody.
Yeah.
If, I mean, just whatever their situation is, definitely.
Because
whatever their personality type is, whatever their preference is.
And sometimes in some situations, even the man might need more reassurance. Mm-hmm. Maybe if they're taking a new job, right. Maybe they're doing a new, they're in a new environment or something.
Right.
They might need,
or maybe they've been laid off or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally.
Yeah, that's not the time when you need to lay it on them. Like,
right.
Yeah, how come you're not getting a new job?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I honestly think that reassurance is one of the best things that you can do in that case. So everybody, just as a recap, we want to just, again, encourage you to find ways to just make life more enjoyable. Make things easier. Don't make things harder for yourself. If your spouse needs reassurance, give it to them. Let them just be happy.
Just honestly. Dish it out, yeah.
Just dish out the positive.
Yeah, just dish out the positive. Because you never run out of them anyway.
If you're gonna, I would just say, if you're gonna use your voice to express love.
Yes, because again, you'll never run out of it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Do that as much as possible. And honestly, here at Live Your Best Marriage, we like to say that without a plan, you plan to fail.
Woo!
And so as a couple, just take that time to just sit down and decide, okay, how do we want to live our life? What is our best communication style? How do we want to relate to one another? Just all those types of things. It is going to be well worth your time, I promise you.
Oh yeah.
I promise you. I know a lot of that just sounds like, oh, we're not going to sweat the small stuff, but I can guarantee you that anytime you spend planning just to make your life together better, it is so worth it.
Oh,
and you definitely won't regret it.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, just express love, and we hope to
be seeing you again next in a few days on Wednesday. And folks, until next time, bye and God bless.
Are you tired of being upset, lonely, feeling empty, or just plain frustrated with your marriage? And no matter how hard you try, you're not getting anywhere, just going in circles? No matter how much you try to make time for one another in your schedule, or how many times you say, I'm sorry, Pesa and I have put together 99 ideas to help you connect with that one special person, so that things can start to be more like the way they were before everyday life got in the way and caused the two of you to drift apart. We want you to have 99 ways to show love to your spouse absolutely free. You can find it at 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com. Because here at Live Your Best Marriage, we truly hope that the two of you can move closer together and enjoy the connection that comes from achieving a stronger bond. Again, that's 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com. That's the number 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com.